Well, I can just extrude things in Maya. That's pretty easy. But
So there's a slightly larger one on the printer right now.
Is there?
Yeah, I scaled it up a little bit because like the peg was so small.
Yeah, it is a little
So
small. I'm kind of excited about this though.
these kids come in blasting Ghostbusters.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, it's seasonal.
Ghostbusters 2.
We're going to talk about that. That's kind of an interesting use case or example.
Oh, look at that. It's used.
Yeah, it'll all become clear.
oh, is it clean? Is there something inside of it?
Jeff, I think I'll make that better.
That's scaled 50%. I'm just going to let you guys puzzle about it for a few minutes. And then
a gyroscope in here that just spins it around and it bounces like a top.
it is not nearly that complicated.
Does it have a purpose?
It's just an axle. It's an axle into
Does it have a purpose?
It looks cool.
It's a discussion piece for class today.
Wait, is there anything in it?
It's actually pretty interesting how accurate.
Or is this like a proof that you could print something that moves inside of another thing?
No.
It's all of those things.
I think. What? Couldn't you solve this by printing the cube and printing this in 2 parts and then gluing them together?
You could do that, but you don't have to do that. That printed is one piece as it is right there. Yes.
That's a flag. Wait. I guess there's a pretty big tolerance.
Dude, this side is printed down.
Yeah, I can tell.
Because it's all like smooth.
Yeah.
You guys are killing me.
On the inside? Is that what we just decided?
Not sure. He's keeping secrets from us.
I'm not keeping secrets. It's just like one of the first things I was going to talk about. So
It's connected. Yeah. Maybe he paused the print. He probably paused the print and then put it in and then finished.
hey, how's it going? Your print's over there.
Why is this?
What did everyone make? What are the things that people made?
I know we made it.
What did you make?
Jorgen has the crazy amount of junctions. Oh right, I can't open that because it's on.
Jeff,
Yes.
Brett and I are now a cast.
Okay.
And do you know off the top of your head, if we got the little dongle thing or whatever it is?
Mm-hmm. That's what we have here.
But you're trying to be back with the TV, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out if we could put one in the LCD projector.
Yeah.
That's ceiling mounted.
You should take a look at the specs online. Some of them are you can.
It's like an HDMI. Yeah, so it's just a
But they need power though, right? They need the HDMI port.
If it's low enough power, you can plug it right into the HDMI port, and it gets a little bit of power from the port.
Okay.
But some devices need supplemental power.
Because we were just thinking how cool it is that if we're running into an issue, we can pop it up there.
Right.
They're doing the same thing in the classroom.
Yeah, it's super handy. So the other thing is that you should look at the projector and see if it's got a USB port on it.
Yeah.
Because generally the supplemental power is USB. So then you can just plug the power cable into the projector.
They're
Right.
really, for whatever reason, we got really good resistors.
Yeah.
So they seem to have more bells and whistles than anybody else's.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because our building is the least updated building in the district.
Emilio, if it's a little tight, you might want to try to clean up the inside of the hole a little bit rather than forcing it. I mean, you can try. The worst that's going to happen is one of the parts might break. But your print here is actually a really interesting example, and if you don't mind, I want to talk about it when we kind of get into the class today. Because if you take a look at this hole, which is the one that you're stuck in, see how it's slightly out of round? And that's just because it printed sideways, right? And it did a pretty good job of getting close to round, but it's a little bit out of round, and that's why the peg is tight. Do you need help getting it back out? What's that? Oh, that's right. You'd think that would help, right, to get it to slide in better.
Long time no see.
Yeah, right? It's at least an hour. Yeah. All right, I'm just going to check the audio on the stream, and then I think we can get started pretty soon. What's that? Yes, I am. 2, 4, 6, 8.
So can I just peel these off?
Yeah. Actually, the whole surface is a spring steel sheet.
Okay.
So this lifts up here, and then you can flex. Isn't that fancy? Yeah, cool. All right. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We'll start in a couple of minutes. Got a couple things to recap, and then we're going to roll into a couple of new examples that I want to show you guys. And then we'll get back to you guys having some time to work on your own projects as well. So. No, I mean they're intended for very different things. But howdy.
Hey.
So yeah, this is last year.
Yeah.
And this is this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've definitely gone down a little bit. But yeah, so actually we could talk about that for a minute. While we're waiting for a couple more people to filter in. How's everybody doing, guys?
Cool.
Yeah? Everybody have a good week? Yeah? Okay. So guys, let's talk a little bit for a couple minutes before I let you guys kind of get back to working on your projects. What? This was this was a big experiment. So Michael and I started teaching classes this past spring, and we both came up with the idea of teaching an intro class to kind of ramp up, because in the longer classes that we teach, the 6 to 8 week classes, those hit hard and fast. Like there's a lot of material. Sometimes it's a little bit like drinking from a fire hose in terms of just keeping up with all the stuff that we try to cram into that period of time. And I've been really happy trying to lead up to, not necessarily, I mean, maybe not everybody is interested in following up with that class, but kind of taking these 4 weeks to really kind of go through at a better pace, like 3D modeling, kind of diving down deep in as far as you guys want to go. So I'm really happy with that. I wanted to talk for just a couple of minutes about the upcoming class, because I know, for example, the Oyster River crew over here have all signed up. So any of the rest of you guys who have gone through this, if you're feeling good about it and you want to continue on, the class that we roll into next is we talk about design and fabrication for AI. You know, to be real. That isn't to say that your work with this stuff can't continue. We mentioned before, I think, that this LoisLab is a resource for all of you. You're welcome here. For students, after school during the week is a great time to come in if you can fit it into your schedule. Just hit us on Discord first. You know, classes are going to continue. But if you like working here, you know, whether it's continuing to work on the robotics stuff or you want, well, you probably don't want to ask me for help with your math homework, but like if you just want a quiet place to come in and work, or if you've got other projects going on, the space is available to you. If you guys have an idea for something you want to teach, you know, we'll make a space available to you guys as well. Yeah, so please keep coming back. Anyway, so my point was, if there's anything you guys do want to dig into tonight, have those ideas. We'll spend some time on it. I want to give you a couple of quick demos of other stuff that I've been thinking about this week. I'm not going to go, I mean, it's designed to hold motor, obviously, but the layout of the part, I designed this so that it would print without support material. Now, you guys, actually, with the exception of you, Roland, haven't really had to deal too much with support material yet. Emilio, your part printed without any support. So support material is something that you get into using when you have a part with overhangs. I think we talked about this a little bit. If you had something like a tree, right, like the base is wide and it kind of narrows up to the trunk and then it flares out again. And you're fine until you start getting to the branches that hang out over open space. And because 3D printers print from the bottom up, those branches have trouble because you want to start the tips of those leaves out over open space. That doesn't work. So when you're preparing the job, you can, if you side, okay, so I would lose the ability to put a screw in here and hold it in the aluminum extrusion, but this side would be intact. This side would be removed. The hole that this passes through is facing down, so at that point there wouldn't be any overhangs, and this part would be missing, but it would print without support, okay? So when you're designing parts, you can think about the orientation that you're printing the part, or if there are features you can move or remove so that there are no overhangs. It's frequently possible to eliminate those overhangs and get parts to print without support that would not otherwise be possible. So I just want to kind of plant that idea in your head as you're designing parts. Don't rely on support material if you can spend a little bit more time and eliminate the need for it, because it's going to make parts that print a little bit better. Can I, how would you describe it? Something you can kind of fidget with? Yeah. So I'm not going to force this on now because the parts are a little delicate right now, but really tight tolerances, right? If you were going to edit this part, you could add a little bit more space so that the parts move more freely if you wanted to. But the fit is great, and this is really cool. One interesting thing is these holes, so the part printed in this orientation, and this hole, if you have a through hole like that, because the circle starts kind of flat at the bottom and then the sides ramp up, and then by the time it curves around again, the only part that's really a complete overhang is that last little bit of the circle, and the printer can kind of bridge that. So the circle actually completed, but because of gravity, the circle is a little bit out around, like it's squished this way a tiny bit, and so the shaft doesn't pass like absolutely cleanly through. Your model was perfect. It's the printer that was the limitation. So you could clean that up with a drill bit or whatever. But you know, that's an example of part orientation, right? If you didn't have these flanges here and here, and you printed the part that way, well, I guess you'd need support in here. But the holes would be perfectly sized, okay? We're going to come back to this part in just a minute because I have a challenge for you if you're up to it. Okay. So some of the Oyster River guys were looking at this part when they came in. And on my screen, that's this. Okay. Anybody have an idea what's going on here? You guys have been thinking about it for a little while. What do you think is going on here, and how did I accomplish this, and what does it do? Any thoughts like that? Material, because it starts wide, goes narrower, goes up, and then flares out again at no more than a 45-degree angle. What's actually? I made that just as an example of this sort of technique. So I think some of you should kind of take that as a challenge to try to reproduce that, maybe that model or something based on that model, right? A mechanism that prints in place without support that is free once you take it off the printer, okay? So Emilio, back to your example, right? With this, right, if the final product is basically to have this axle with the piece inside that moves around, I think that it's possible for you to print this mechanism fully assembled in place. And when it's done, it should move freely. I'm going to give you a hint. I think you need to remove. I'll just log you in then, if that's cool.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
It does not work.
Yeah, that's fine.
Unless you just push down hard on these browns. Good lord. Not this again. They look like it. They feel like it. Let me see. No, they're linear. They're linear. That's touching. They're linear. They're not rounds.
The trigger area is going to be hard.
Yeah, but I believe in you. It was just taking another minute to load. You'll be fine. Believe in yourself.
Oh, actually.
Give me 1 second. I'll come right over. What were you saying?
I want to steal your rocket.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's great.
I have a couple of beauties.
Yeah, these are nice.
You know, we cleaned out the old electronics room. So when I saw your rocket, I was like, I got 2 of these on my desk.
Sweet.
And I put them in my car.
Yep.
And they were there last week.
A friend of mine, his dad was like a hi-fi repair guy, and he passed away, and all his stuff was still in the basement, so I went and helped clean it out. And I got some big bottle, like really, like they're not really useful for anything. They're like television tubes and stuff, but like they're just huge and gorgeous. Anyway, so
I
you,
saw these and I was like, oh, I do history
yeah,
of computing. And so
very relevant. Yeah, right.
So I was like, I'll keep these. Yeah, there was this electronics room, robotics room.
Oh man.
Blue shiny.
Yeah, yeah, that's all right.
We were trying.
It's a thin,
All sorts
it,
of cool stuff.
yeah, it's a thin line between like,
Recording and
yes, exactly. Like I have so much stuff. But anyway, so did you have a question
yeah, I
or?
wanted to calipers to measure
Oh yeah.
things.
So there's sets in both of these. Try the bottom drawers. And I personally find it useful to measure and draw it out Like on a piece of paper? Yeah, if you need paper, I have some. Okay. Yeah, so I would start. Hi.
So I kind of remember we did this last time. I'm going to make a midplane,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to split the body along that midplane,
Yep,
right?
exactly.
So
Yep.
I'm just having a hard time getting the midplane if I want.
So I think we used the term midplane, but I think when we actually did it, we did an offset plane where
That's right, we did.
yeah, and we just did it from like the XY plane, which is the bottom plane.
Yep.
Yep.
And then we moved it up.
moved it up to wherever we thought.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. So, and then you can do the split body thing and just select that plane. All right? You bet. How you doing? If you're interested in revising this, I would reopen it and I would change the diameter of that to make it
Maybe a little bit bigger.
beefier. Yeah.
So wait, what's the
This isn't
little
too
tower thing?
So we're gonna take like corrugated cardboard, make like a little character, and then your character will just fit over that. So
That's
we
a good
can, like,
idea.
interchange.
Yeah, I think this is super cool. Look how well the pieces fit too.
It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Wait, what exactly is it for?
Now you gotta print like 1,000 of those.
The other thing I
Oh,
really
just
like, it's a game piece,
It's
is so
got like a little lip.
yeah. So when these print on the printer, like it sort of squooshes the plastic out a little bit, and I actually usually spend time removing that.
I like
So
it.
well, in this case, it's great because you turn it upside down, and then you've got this little lip that makes it easy, so you can like pull it back out. But so if you ever are printing a part, oops, sorry, I'm like throwing your stuff around now. If you want to get rid of that, I just came across this recently. On your model, if you do a tiny fillet, so you round it under, so that the bottom part of the part actually kind of tucks in underneath a little bit, then that sort of evens that out. So instead of squishing the plastic out, it's trying to print it under, and it evens itself out, and you end up with pretty much a flat side. So, yeah, this is great. So, yep. So anyway.
Yeah, maybe just. I like this size. Like this is true size.
Yeah, but this is too delicate. This will break off. This actually might be okay, but it also might break off. The other thing you could do is you could turn that into a hole, and then you can put a round toothpick in there. And then when it breaks, you just put another round toothpick in there. You make it serviceable.
I just want like exporting this to print. Do I have to do anything to the file?
Are you going to print that in one piece?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, so the way that I would go about this is,
Yeah, it's printer.
are they separate components or separate bodies or just?
Components.
Okay, so I would, you're going to want to orient them different ways. Yeah, so what you do is, for each of these, you can like right-click on this first one in the tree.
Right click?
Yep. Try it one more time there. Are you in sketch mode?
No.
Oh, but you're in joint editing mode.
Oh.
There you go. Okay, try it again.
Right in front of your face.
Save as STL,
No, I just want to scrape.
and then hit OK, and it'll ask you to give it a name and all that. Just go down the tree and save them as individual components, and then you can arrange them on the printing plate. Yeah.
There it is.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Go better if I wasn't standing in your light, though, right?
All right.
Yes.
Challenge me.
Okay.
I don't know what to do.
Really? You just got no ideas?
I am completely blank. My mind is.
What did you make last week? Remind me.
I made an escape key. I think.
You made an escape key?
Yeah.
Do you still have the model?
Yeah, it's printing right now.
Oh, sweet.
60 minutes.
Can I see what it looks like?
Yeah. How long did mine take to print?
Not long. I forget exactly. It might have been half an hour, something like that.
It's just a bigger escape key for my laptop.
So you can like,
So I can really click it.
right. So
So I can extra.
how big is it on the side? Like click on one of the lines.
It's the size of my tab button.
Oh, okay. So
It fits over my escape key.
it's okay.
It's just.
It's proportional?
A useless object.
So I would like you to try to make something that. Well, no, look at what I did. That is in no way a requirement.
He's putting something over his key that he then can't print. It is an escape lock.
Right. So I want you to try to design something where you have a part that interacts with another part. Okay. So the challenge with that is making two objects that have the correct corresponding dimensions, so that they, for example, fit together, snap together, bolt together, interlock, pivot, something like that, so that you are kind of forcing yourself to design one object that mirrors or matches the geometry of another object.
I have an idea. So have you ever had one of those clamps, like where you push down something, a tab, and it like pushes something into something to lock it in place.
Yeah, like a cam mechanism or something like that. That is super cool. Now, so that's a complicated example, and that's totally fine. And you might look for prior examples of that, like do some Google image searches to get some ideas. But the simplest example of two parts that interact with each other, I mean, aside from like a puzzle piece or something like that, would be like a box with a lid, right? The interesting thing about that is you can have a hinge. You can have a ridge, like an inset ridge, so that the lid snaps in place and is like held in place by friction onto the box. You can do a lot of options like that. I'm not saying you should build a box. You can build a box. But I want you to think about an object with more than one part, and the parts have to interact in some sort of critical way. Okay?
What's the name of the software for the folding?
That's all right. You totally almost cut my hand, but I don't mind.
Yes, yeah, it's
I love
keep
it.
reaching for my screen. My ramen.
What's the name of the software for the printer?
Oh, you want to go to prussiaprinters.com, I think,
Oh,
and
is it
download
on
it from, yeah, it's from there.
It's straight up the bigger
No S and no second I, so PRUSA, printers. And then once you get there, go to like support and then downloads, and then just grab the Windows package.
All right, here we go.
How you doing, Amelia?
I see that.
Quite nice.
Are you accepting my challenge, or are you doing your own thing?
It's a little tight.
Crunchy.
Let me know when you're ready for a hint.
How would I measure between the center holes to my side?
It's tricky.
Should I take this depth?
Well, so the important dimension is center to center, okay? Because that's how it's going to be described in the model, okay? So you can estimate with a set of calipers. And so sometimes what we do is, this is an American-made tube. It was probably designed in like the 40s. So the critical measurement is probably in inches rather than millimeters. So I'd set the calipers to inches. And then get it as close as I can to the center, and then the other end of the caliper is close to that center, and see if it comes out to a sensible known.
Sensible.
Yeah, like I got like 0.3375, which might be, that sounds sort of sensible. But the other thing you can do is if you look up octal tube base dimensions on a Google image search, you'll probably find a diagram with dimensions, and then you can just copy it. That is not cheating. I know sometimes it may feel like cheating, but first of all, that's what professionals do all the time, and that's actually how I did this motor mount. I had ordered these motors, and they hadn't come in yet, and so this is a standard size, and I Googled I found a technical drawing of the motor, and I actually modeled this part off of the technical diagram. Yeah, and then once I got here, I was able to test it. Yeah.
How exciting was that?
It was pretty darn exciting, I gotta admit. I was pretty proud of myself.
So you're saying octal tube socket dimensions?
Yes. And I would do an image search, because then you can probably see, like, oh yeah, that's the bottom view with little, like a technical drawing.
When I tried the Purple Slicer, it redirected me to the firmware page and like the firmware car.
Maybe in the next iteration.
No, right now. So I tried this lane and it just redirects me to this lane.
Any of you guys had Mr. Saddam in 5th grade?
Yes, I did. Yes.
A bunch of you did.
Actually, no, I didn't.
Yeah, this like if you click on that, yeah, that's the whole thing. It's the apps and the drivers all in one package.
Mr. Saddam's like, my best friend. Oh. I was like, oh, there's an 8-pin, and then when I told her the West 2 pins are broken.
Actually, some tubes don't use all 9, or all 8 rather. Yeah, those don't look broken. I can see shiny. I think that's the bottom of the glass envelope.
But you would assume it would be pretty close. I guess.
Well, you can sanity check it, right? Dimension, set that dimension on the calipers, and then compare it.
A tree can have one. One.
Thank you, Drew's mom.
One. Shaq.
Yeah, you guys have to police your own food allergies, right? Like, don't hold me responsible if you have a gluten intolerance and you eat a cookie. Okay.
Yup.
I just wanted to make sure everyone heard that.
I'm aware. I'm definitely allergic to chocolate.
That one's kind of interesting. I haven't seen too many with metal bases. And then, oh yeah, this is the same way. In the sense that it doesn't use all 8 pins.
Right.
All right, here we go.
What do you got?
Yeah, you made yours.
Does it
so
fit?
It does. It's a little tight.
Where's the bathroom?
All right.
Mm.
That works great. That is really good. That is excellent. That is super, super cool. Can I take a picture of that and put it on the Instagram? Where's my phone?
Nice.
Do you mind?
Yeah, it's fine.
I think you don't really need to print the second part again. I think you might just need to make the
Oh, yeah.
just use it as new material. Just use it as it is. It functions. Yeah, I feel like it's gonna break the dart. I can already see like the stress
Oh
line.
yeah.
Yeah, PLA is a little brittle.
I also want to print it again without all those bits in there, and I need to add this strap bit on this side. I want to style it in the style of my backpack too.
You have to like fill with the corner.
Wow, you're really demanding.
I just
Oh,
want to make
wow.
it perfect. Like, I just want to make it exactly what my backpack strap is.
Why don't you import a picture of it, scale it, and then just like sketch an outline, and then
3D scan it in real life.
All right.
into
So don't make any noise you don't want on Instagram for the next like 30 seconds or so.
neat.
Wow.
It would have been really great if it just
Exploded. I was a little afraid that was going to happen. I'm going to be
Just
honest.
snaps right there, trying to do
Yeah.
one-handed.
crunches.
Yeah. And just like you hear this whimper as Roland's dreams are crushed.
As Roland's past like 45 minutes.
How you doing, Charlie? You having a good time over there?
Make us some water too.
Are you stupid?
So I want to draw
Bake us some
contours the same shape that I've got. So I want to dig in. I want to
Yeah.
press down.
Yeah. So if you have a plane that you want the sketch to be on,
Now, what would be punishment?
like probably very close to that mid plane that you used to slice it.
I sliced it and I moved it away.
Can I have two? Is that a possibility?
Top of the slice.
Okay. So did you start a new sketch? So yeah, you can use the project tool
Layer gun.
to project the outline of that shape.
Project into
Yep. And then project, right? And then click on the very outline of that shape.
yeah.
Okay. And then hit OK in the project options window thing that came up way over on the right. So that projects it. You should see it now in purple.
I really like how the water.
And then if you want a line that's like a little bigger or a little smaller than that, you can use the offset tool, which is also in the sketch menu. And also Marcus is an expert in using the offset tool.
No, because I did it from the modified, so now
Marcus is not an expert in the offset tool. You can.
you said it was in the create.
The other keys.
I move things around.
The size of the tag.
So you can use that and you can create a line that's a little outside or a little inside the projected one. What was that, Jaden?
I'm not seeing
Say again?
Bad lag.
Bad lag? That's weird. This is only like a brand new computer.
Watch out, Jordan. The consequences will be slow.
I don't know what's up with that.
Too far.
I mean, maybe.
This is fine, but
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know.
that looks right.
I'm interested to see how, when you're out of this view, like when you're out of the sketch, if it recovers or not. Okay, that's weird. Yeah, that's super weird.
Actually, kind of select multiple.
Yes?
Project.
Unhandled
And
and
then I'll draw these
dead.
pictures for this one
Okay, and now it works.
and this one.
Thank you. It needs to be able to slide.
It's got 4 selected. so
Yep.
I'm gonna hit
It really
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Okay.
And then offset is over.
Why is there
It's in the, yeah, go to the create menu.
the Mark III? There are two. I don't know, are they both the Mark III? They look the
Mm,
same.
I found it.
I know, I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
offset face.
No, we're in 2D mode. There should be an offset. Come over our menu. Offset. There it is.
Oh, it's got an O.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so click on that, and then click on your outline.
This is the I3
Yep.
mark.
Now drag that little thingy in or out, depending on which way.
Oh yeah. Plug it.
I honestly am kind of surprised if this actually worked when I first did it.
Yes.
Yep.
look at that.
There you go.
Thank you.
Now you're on your way.
This is.
This is probably the worst thing that has literally ever happened to a human being.
Okay, that sounds like hyperbole.
No! Why?
Have you guys learned about hyperbole in school?
Yeah, I know. I understand.
We are
Water. I need water for work.
Slight angle. I cannot. I'm going to die.
There are cups on the windowsill and a water bubbler right there, or a water dispenser. Of course. So, you were right to ask if you would need support, because if you keep this rectangular, obviously you're going to need some support. But, what kind of hint do you want? Because there's a few pieces to this. Right. Okay. First thing I would think about is, the most important part is that that piece print somewhere, around the pin. But it doesn't have to print in the middle, right? You could print it down here, right? So you don't need support. Can you hand me that piece for a minute? Yeah. Now, let's imagine that this is, well, just so it sits flat. Imagine that there's a shaft going through here, okay? If you printed this around the shaft, like that, it would stick, right? So why would this stick when it prints down? I mean, it's kind of an obvious question, but.
Right on top of that.
Yeah, and this is flat and this is flat, so there's a bunch of surface contact, so the plastic's going to fuse together, right? Is there some shape that this could be where there would be less surface contact with the surface below it? What other shape could this, like this? So, yeah, that might work. I was thinking of this way. Prints, and I bet what are you guys doing?
Best friends with one of their keepers.
Remember some of those like AMC hot hike at the end of the year?
Yeah, we're doing it tomorrow.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah, we do. I'm in the same YOP program as he is too.
I went on that hike with him and Mr. Paul.
Mr. Paul.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
I
What
know
hut did
someone
you go
named
to?
Mr. Who's that?
What hut did you go to?
Oh,
You know what?
I'm not sure.
Who?
It was by the pool.
We'll find out if mine works.
What are you working on?
So, what do I do with it now? I have it clamp.
I don't know if I've seen your clamp.
It's now separated and all put on a flat surface.
Oh, neato. Oh, that's really cool.
Is there a way to scale everything evenly?
Should I try to scale mine exactly to the buckles on my backpack?
Sure, why not?
Okay, nice.
Oh, neat.
Holds the cable.
That's really cool. What are you going to use?
Keeping like the cable from my VR headset like up farther.
Yeah.
So it comes out. And just doesn't just coil and then just get caught on my computer and then I walk backwards and like yank it.
Like weaving between my chair legs and like.
Not quite.
Oh, that's why my chair goes to the far corner.
I'm scared of like, where it connects to the headset.
Yes.
There's like a right angle into the headset.
Oh.
No, the worst thing is like, I feel like it's gonna like
yank out like the
The
C-port.
clip on the strap. Oh my god.
Oh yes.
It's made out of this.
Anyway, I really like that you're making something that you'll actually use. That's super cool.
How would I have it all? How would you print this?
Yeah.
In the thing.
How'd you print? So zoom in a little bit. It'll be easier to see. So you wanna scale all of the things?
Well, no, I don't. I just want. I think I have it larger now. I don't know if I really want that much.
Oh, okay. So you're happy with the size?
I'm happy with the size.
Okay. So next would be then to process the print job, I guess.
Do that.
So,
Should I make it bigger? Like,
well, this is probably the print bed.
yeah,
So
pretty small.
yeah. So I mean, you can certainly make it larger. It'll take longer to print, but then again,
I kind of want.
you're not gonna you're not gonna print it
Yeah.
in the next 40 minutes anyway. So
You don't think it's that?
well, it's gonna take longer than that to actually print. You can certainly kick it off in the next 40 minutes, but
Yeah.
um,
All right, now.
yeah. So you could yeah, just do a uniform scale. Yep, that looks good. So some of these parts, like you've got this peg that's coming out, that's going to need support. Yep. So you can. Yeah, that looks good. So you could, where it says supports and it's set to none, just change that to, let's see. I think actually those the shackle parts are the only parts that need support, right?
I think yeah.
I would just do build plate only then, that first one. So what that means is it's any place that's an overhang over the build plate, it'll build support under it. But if you had a part that was oriented like this, it wouldn't build the support in the middle because that's not over the build plate.
Circles will be good.
Yeah, those should be fine. That you might need to clean them up a little bit for the same reason that Amelia was a little bit out of round, but
I have a pretty large tolerance on those.
say again?
I have a large tolerance. on
Yeah.
those.
Oh, good, good. Okay. Yeah. So, and then the infill percent, I don't know if you've done this stuff before, but that's the internal support inside the part. 20% is going to be moderately strong. You could up it, but this is like this isn't going to be part of an actual machine, is it? Okay. Yeah, 20% is fine then. And keeping the infill down speeds the print up. So yeah, so that's fine. You can hit slice now.
Fix the design.
Let's see. How are we gonna? You might have to drop the file in the Discord, I'm thinking, because I don't have a memory card reader in this machine. Actually, you don't want to do it that way. Hit escape. If you hit export G-code, it'll ask you to save the G-code file. What you were gonna do, it was gonna save out the plated arrangement of parts, which is fine, but you don't really need that. Yep. I just ran the Discord app in a browser. Although it's probably signed in as me. But actually, that's fine too. You can drop it in as me. Hi. You're in dark mode, or whatever they call that. I always get so I always get so unnerved by everybody with their orange screens. Anyway,
Okay. So
I like that the blue light keeps me up at night, but you know.
my glasses also have a filter in them for
Double filter.
I'm glad you're so well protected.
So why are you?
Jack is just disgusted. Anyway, so what were you gonna say?
So I want this bit on this bit of the buckle. How can I like cut here?
Sorry,
copy this?
you want bit on which bit of the what?
Like no. So like this. You know, this is again on this side. Right, because they both connect.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Let's see. Well, I mean, you could do that, but this is really.
It's not. It's very simple. I should just make it again.
I would.
Okay.
I mean, like you could move one part over the other and then project it and then extrude it and all of that. But these are all like straight up simple geometries.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
just redraw them.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Wait.
For me, at
again,
least.
those steps you would do if you didn't want to do that.
What I would do is, like, imagine that this is in Fusion. Right?
Yes.
I would probably orient one part over the other so that, like, this edge matched up with that edge.
Okay.
Right? And then what you can do is draw a new sketch on this surface and then project the outline of this. There's a tool for that.
Okay.
Like that you basically say, start a new sketch on this plane, and then in that sketch, you say project, and then you click on geometry that exists elsewhere in the design, and it projects it down onto that plane, and then from there you can then extrude it, right? So you could, orient these in the same position and then project this shape down onto the sketch and extrude it to create it that way.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's any faster, to be honest, because you're going to have to very carefully line them up. Whereas you could just measure this, like that's 4 millimeters, and this is probably, 15 or
Yeah,
whatever.
I think they're
and
all
just-
like whole numbers.
Yeah.
anyway.
So yeah, I would just do it that way.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
I have a few things to print for a Halloween costume.
Okay.
Do you mind?
I love Halloween.
Sometimes later I sent them to you and can't pick them up
No, I don't mind that, but you can also come in and set up your own print jobs.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, I can do that.
I love Halloween. Ask me about the bat wings I'm building.
I have a costume. It's pretty big.
So Jeff, I think I figured out.
Hey, just one second. Sorry, what were you saying?
I feel like this kind of feels pretty
It might be. It might. If you go up to the Modify menu and see this option that says Fillet, click on. Doing well. Fillet and fillet are spelled the same way, but they're two different things. Click on, actually, let's show you up top first because it's easier to see. Click on that outer ring, yeah, and then put in a number like 1. See what it did there? Yeah, do that on the bottom too. And again, you're reducing that surface area. All right? What's up?
All right, so when I extrude it down, it just goes down straight, but my sides taper, and so it cuts into them. So I'm seeing all this stuff over here.
Sorry, can you show me what you mean by that?
Yeah. So I'm choosing this. I'm pulling it down, and if I go negative, let's say negative 35 here, and I hit it. then
Oh,
it's-
it's intersecting with
yeah,
the.
it's intersecting with the
Yep.
edge because the edge tapers.
Yeah.
Right?
So, you asking what to do about that?
So I think I'm starting to figure out because when I hit, so if I control Z, right? Let me look at the. So when I look at this menu, and I choose this, then I'm seeing things like the distance, the taper angle,
That one in this case.
right?
Have you played with that?
I did a 30,
Try it.
I think. And then I wanted this to be negative 30 right now. Try it out. And then something disappeared. So maybe did it go out? It chopped it this way.
Yeah,
Then
maybe.
You do a negative 30.
Yeah, try that.
Okay. Extrude. And distance.
That went weird. It's looking better. Yeah.
That looks like I hollowed it out,
Yep.
right? Which is what I want
Yeah.
to do.
Now let me throw another quick idea at you, just for future modeling things. So things like extruding downward to create a pocket, but you're somewhat limited. Okay, and those are okay too. But if you wanted something like a nice curve, that's a lot harder. Okay. So there's a couple things you could do, right? One of them would be, instead of thinking about creating the outer shape and then draw the cross section that you're trying to create, like the outer curve and then the inner curve, and then sweeping it around the perimeter to extrude the shape. There's a tool for that. Yeah. So there's a straight revolve, which is around an axis, but you can also create a two-dimensional shape and sweep it along a path. So you can define a path. It could be that sort of rounded rectangle like you're doing. You could have a squiggly line, whatever, and you can take a two-dimensional shape and sweep it along that path to create a three-dimensional body. Yeah. So if you keep working on 3D models, you may get to a point where extrusion and cutting doesn't get you the sort of careful control you want, and you may have to think about other ways to do that. You might also be able to do something similar to that, but where you're doing a cut operation. So instead of an extrude cut, you might sweep something along the inside as a cut operation. That's also possible. Yeah. So those options are out there. So just, keep that in mind. Emilio, did you have a question, or are you good?
I think I was able to fillet the inside.
You're just going to keep calling it that, aren't you? Yeah, right.
But
Okay.
I
What about the underside? What is
this
the,
one right
yeah,
here.
like the bottom edge? Because that's probably where it's going to
Yeah.
stick, right?
This is where I can.
Okay, so let's take a look at it. Oh, you know what might help?
Like, I can do it in, like, not making it so it touches the edge.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure which one that was.
Okay, well, there's another trick you could try also. Can you hide this for a second? And then, see up in the browser there, expand the little folder for bodies. Click on the little arrow that's on the left edge. Yeah. Oh, that's all one body. Okay. That's okay, but okay, that makes it a little more complicated. Let me show you a trick. Can I use your trackpad for a sec? So if we go back in the timeline and look, let's see, that is that, and that is that, and that.
You just said they were.
Okay, so if you're doing an extrude, oh, sorry, let me explain what I'm doing there. So these are all the things you've done previously in the timeline, right? So if you go back into one of the extrude operations you've done before and you double click on it, that opens up the properties so you can modify them later. And this option right here where this says join, what that means is this new extrusion that you're doing, if it's touching another body, the two are going to become one body, okay? And that's normally okay, but sometimes you want them to be separate. And if you do, then what you can do is you can just do new body instead. And then when you do that, this will be a separate body, or it should be anyway. I think we've got so many extrude operations here that weren't separate bodies that we've still only got one here. But so the reason that that's handy is if this piece down here was a separate body from this piece here, then we could hide it like that, and then this part would disappear, and then we could get to the underside and do that fillet operation easier. All right? So I think the reason you're having trouble doing it now is because the Fusion thinks that this ring here and this are one piece. So if you select that, and then actually, you were doing it up here, right? You were doing that, and then if we select this one also, I don't know if I can get over there.
No, it's a .g code.
Whoa, that's not what I meant to do. Let's try that again.
Okay, well, give me the thing. Give me the thing on
I'm like all confused now. There we go. And then select that edge over there. And then if we do like -1, what does that do? Wow, it doesn't like that.
Oh, so it's gonna like be able to curl up in this thing?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Nope, it doesn't like that either. That could be a flaw in my great plan here. Let's see. How far back do we have to go?
Do you want to make it so it's cranes? Is that what you're thinking?
I want to like.
Let's see. That's that, and then that's that, and then I don't even know what part that is. And then that's that, and then at what point did you create this pin here? Oh, way back there. Okay. So let's try making this a new body. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's worth a try. And then, oh yeah, okay. So that's that, and then.
So I'm going to make these into
Okay, you got rid of that, so that's fine. And then that's that. That's fine. You made those longer. That's fine. And then that's a new body.
That's what I made so it could go on.
Oh, okay.
Impossible.
Yeah. All right.
That's a static sphere. Can you just save it as not a G code, please, and just save it as like an STL?
Oh, I see what you did. That's really interesting. So you created that so that you had something to.
Yeah.
Oh, super interesting. Okay, that's not how I would have done it, but that's okay. So we'll do body. There's one in the printer. It's on the side of the control panel. All right, so that's that, and that's okay. So now this is a new body, or a separate body rather. So now maybe if we're lucky, what we can do is we can hide that. right? You know what I'm doing?
Yep.
And then,
All I see is this. I've noticed even on the back. I see.
oops,
There's three ones on the back.
this is why I use a mouse. All right.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Just look at the thing. There's one on the back.
How are you attaching this up here?
Well, I'm just gonna.
Little one. That's probably a little more than you want. There we go. And then hit OK. And then turn the body back visible. Yeah. There you go.
So would that work now?
I think it's a good chance. I can't say for sure. Well, okay, so there's one more problem, which is this part is still square. So let's imagine now that the post is going up and down. You've got the thing around the post that hopefully will break free, but this is one big overhang, right? So this would still need support. So the limitation is the outer shape needs to be shaped in some way so that it itself does not need support material. See what you can come up with there. You're real close though. How you doing? That's all right. Do you need a hand?
I think I was trying to circle.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking I've got to create one that's about 1, 2. I couldn't find the same
Okay.
online. So now I have to set this to inches.
Well, that's one way to do it,
convert
or this will let you override it. So what size do you want it to be?
So I'm 1 or 6'5".
Okay. So type in the number and then do a space IN. Yeah, and it'll do the conversion on the fly. Because it's stubborn about it.
It wants like
Yeah, it
1
really
to 2
wants it.
inches.
Yeah,
Nobody else does.
like nobody in modeling does inches. What are you doing?
What are you
Yeah,
doing?
right. But if you ever do want to change it, it's in document settings. You're welcome. What's up?
Something kind of happened.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I just drew this part here, and then this happened,
Okay, can you undo so we can see?
and suddenly it was like back here or something.
Okay, well,
So then I started
okay. Well, this is sort of like in the movies when you time travel back and you change something and then the future's all messed up. Like, if you do something you don't like, it's better to undo than to move the timeline, because if you move the timeline back here and then you do other stuff, the new stuff you're doing shows up in the timeline here, not out
How do
here.
I fix this?
So, well, it depends. If you go, hold on. So try undoing. So, and by undo, I mean like use Control Z or the undo button. Okay, let's back up a little bit.
What's the name of the LoisLab Instagram account?
The what?
What do you think?
Everything here is named LoisLab. We have no creativity at all.
I think even this Acer monitor is even named LoisLab.
Yeah. Actually, or if it isn't, it should be. What's that?
Peter, then.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Then where's Peter? Where's Peter?
Peter?
Oh.
Lois Griffin, Peter Griffin?
Oh. Sorry. Went right over my head. What?
I got it back.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Okay. So what were you trying to do when you had the problem?
I don't know.
This is getting intricate, by the way.
I drew this part here, and
Okay.
then it just died.
Okay. I mean, it could have been confused about one of the extrude operations or something, but by the way, you should periodically. So that you have something to revert
Yeah,
back to.
if that happened, then it would have been just like this whole side gone.
That would have been sad. That's looking great, though. This is really intricate. Nice work. You good?
Yeah.
It's okay if you need a minute and take a breather, you know, like just sort of process the emotions of almost losing your model. How you doing? You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Glad to hear. Who was looking? Were you looking for? Nice.
Someone want a coin? I'll take it.
Did you make a coin?
Unbalanced, but it's not actually. It is unbalanced. One side is different than the other. Therefore, it is unbalanced.
Does it fit?
No, it's too big. Well, I mean, it's not too big, but there's a little bit of a.
Well, aren't you going to iterate your model? so that your escape key properly fits.
But I don't feel like printing this again because it's such a stupid design. Like, it really like wasn't like anything.
You know how you could fix it?
Mildly useful.
Double-sided tape.
That's what I thought too. You
Donk.
just- yeah.
You want me to get you some?
Yeah.
Do you know what'd be really interesting is does LoisLab have like a logo besides just the word LoisLab?
Well, we carefully chose the Ubuntu font.
Yeah.
So, you know, our logo is LoisLab in Ubuntu font. Do you want like regular double-sided tape or like absurdly thick? Well, I only have one thickness, I think. But oh, actually, this is thicker. But this stuff is like, hard to remove.
I would like to be able to get this off my
Yeah,
computer.
well, that's why I was a little. So, VHP is like.
Oh, I like having things currently started. I really don't.
A friend of mine used to work for a company that built custom limousines. And so he he had the best job. He basically made like all custom interior panels and what's that? Oh yeah, of course he did. You have to make sure the stuff works. But he'd always be mounting like computer systems or video game systems, or whatever inside like these custom crazy limousines and stuff. But so they used to use 3M VHB double-sided tape to actually hold panels in place. The stuff is so strong that like it's like an ultra strong bond. But if you heat it with a heat gun, you can pop the panels back out. But like if you ever needed to press something in a place where you couldn't have any exposed fasteners or anything like that, like the stuff is just absurdly strong. The LoisLab sign on the door is stuck up in VHP. It's been there for almost a year.
Try and peel it off. I dare.
It's you can like hang on. I mean, if the strong might the sign itself might break before the VHP does.
Oh, is it on the frame?
What's that?
Is the sign on the frame? Or
No, I mean,
like the drywall or whatever it's painted on might peel off.
yeah, like the plywood might rip.
that.
Yeah, like this is like.
You're not gonna peel the door off.
Yeah, like when I put it up, I like, hung my. There's one on the other side.
I keep scaling this up because it feels ridiculous. 'Cause now it's 100. What do you have to?
Yes.
So, place a couple pins here.
Yeah.
So I should do a center diameter circle.
Mm-hmm.
Should I set the first one to be a distance to here and then line them up across from each other?
You can do that, right? So there's sort of two philosophies on this. The way that you just described is using what I would call construction geometry. Okay. So you got a center point. There's 8 pins. Well, there's 6 pins, but there's 8 holes, right? Yeah. So what you can do is you can draw an octagon. There's a tool for that. It's a polygon tool. You tell it 8 sides. I'm going to poorly draw.
Students make fun of my 5, so I understand.
Sure.
the pain.
Right, and then
At the angles, you say those are my pins.
yes, exactly. So you can draw the octagon and you can make it a construction geometry, which just makes it a dotted line so it doesn't get in the way of your other operations, and then put the circles at the vertices or whatever they're called.
Right.
Right? So that's one way to do it. Okay? And that's totally legit. I've done that many times. Okay? The other way to do it is the other thing you were sort of describing. You have a center point, you put another hole out there, and you set the dimension that is the distance between them. Say it's, I don't know, 10 millimeters or whatever. Okay? And then there's a tool called the circular pattern tool. Sounds like what you're trying to do. Where you say where the center point is and the object you want to pattern, and then you tell it how many you want, and it goes donk, 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 donk.
Oh, I like donk, donk, donk.
Yeah, right. I got donk from Michael. He says that all the time. So anyway, if you want to do it that way, yeah. Yep, you need a center point and you need the thing you want to copy. So draw those things, and then I'll show you how to use the pattern tool.
So if I want to draw another circle from that center point, do that.
So the location of that circle is pretty much arbitrary, okay? So you can draw the circle anywhere you want, and then use the dimension tool to set a dimension from the midpoint to the center of that circle and set the distance, and then it'll end up somewhere in space, the right distance. And then the pattern tool doesn't care where the start is. It'll just create the pattern based on that.
I made something that's not useless. I mean, it's still useless, but like, at least you can use it.
Useless in a different sense of the word.
It's so funny. I hate that.
Also, I doubt your lid is going to close anymore.
Yeah, the joint's already broken anyway.
I was going to say, please don't test that, like, with, yeah, like, that's, yeah, not.
No, my lid's already broken. How does LoisLab make its, like, revenue, like, to keep going?
Revenue? What's that?
Not revenue, but, like, how do you-
Everything here is free.
How do you, like, funding from, like,
We don't. So here's the really brief overview of the business model. Okay, so Michael, who you may have met, he was here a couple times. Yeah. So he and I decided to start this place. Yes, he is Leo's dad. So he does software development, right? He builds tools for the financial industry, and he had an office somewhere else in Portsmouth. We knew we wanted to build this place, so we moved his office here, so he has 2 rooms instead of 1 room. He operates that business out of that room over there. And so that business pays the rent for the whole space, and we use this room for a classroom. And then Michael and I both work basically half-time, so he does that software development with his guys half-time and then does this, and I work another job half-time and then I do this. So far we've managed to not have to take any money from anybody and not have to charge anybody anything. And so that's kind of the plan from here on out. Eventually, because we want to keep expanding, like one of the things we want to do is figure out how to get past the limit of, I don't know, maybe offering 2 classes twice a year. Like that means that the upper limit is like maybe 100 students a year or something like that. If like, how do we get to 1,000 students or 100,000 students or whatever? We need to like, yeah, well, that's part of it, right? That's why we're doing that. We're kind of experimenting with that stuff. But you know, online content delivery and you know, using things like YouTube or Twitch or whatever. But you know, like also, what's that? Oh, it's on YouTube now just because that was easy. But you know, like we're using Discord, so it kind of feels like we should use Twitch.
It's easier to get people to find it on YouTube, though. Like,
Probably, yeah, yeah.
I remember that from when we used to mess around with stuff. It was like if you streamed on YouTube, you just random like it
Yeah.
was popping up. You could stream for like 4 hours on Twitch, and you'd never.
Yeah, I'd never see a soul.
You're at the bottom of the list.
Yeah. So all of that is kind of stuff we're you know figuring out. But you know, we thought about becoming a nonprofit because then you know if like some you know like if the state wanted to kick some money our way or if we wanted to write a grant for you know for some you know rich person who'd like to support you know computer science education or something like that, we'd have that option. But as of right now, it's just you know we put our time in and that's pretty much the only thing we need to do.
It's pretty awesome.
Thanks.
Very awesome. What you guys are
We like it too.
doing.
You got a question? What about an arch?
Why is it like rotating around the weirdest location?
It's rotating.
Try it.
So this would be sketch dimensions if we don't.
Yes. Yeah. Shortcuts D.
After that happened, I decided to take a break and just put some more detail into
That
the
looks
code.
fantastic.
Yeah,
That
so
I was wondering how you were
basically
going to
just
do
did
that.
it as close as possible,
Yeah.
and I actually did it like almost exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
The only difference is like this gap right here is a little bit bigger, but
Yeah, that looks really good. Nice job.
Where do I? So I did, but I can't tell where that dimension.
I'll come back.
So I did draw a line in here, I think. And I got 2 things on top of that.
That's a little strange.
Yeah.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
I can try.
You can also use a little scrolling.
Just the scrolly wheel. Oh, here I was clicking the zoom thing. For
Well, that'll work too. Okay.
I missed.
Maybe I don't know. You want to like undo and get rid of that dimension?
Just nice and eat candy. I know. Hang out downtown. You don't get the
There you go.
candy.
Okay.
So
So
it's a create sketch
Sketch dimension,
dimension.
yeah.
I click on the center point.
yep.
And I go click on the center point.
Yeah. Did you click and drag or did you click there and
I
then click?
clicked and clicked. It's a click and drag.
No, it's a click and then a click.
No, but
It's click.
Yeah.
Now I have a clicking thing.
Oh, okay. No, that's good. Yeah.
And so now.
Click again to set that dimension and then you can edit the number.
There we go.
Oh, I know. It's like a capsule. I'm not yet. We could.
You got this.
no, they said it's entry level, so like you don't need to. But like.
So guys, it's about like 10 minutes left in the session. Anybody got anything? Anybody stuck? Anybody want to share what they're working on? Anybody want to throw what they're doing up on screen? Anybody?
Oh, I would.
Yeah, we got 2 screens. We got 2 TVs. No waiting. Somebody used left. Somebody. Why don't you put it up on the left one? You got to pop up in Chrome, and then.
That one's a little thin. I don't know.
So.
That's just they took that.
Who's up on left?
Spiders, like the white spider.
Are we fighting over TVs again? Because something popped up and then disappeared. So if you do cast and you want to change that to desktop so you can show something other than Chrome.
Excuse me?
And then yeah.
I'll put this is on.
Okay, I'll check it just 1 second. And then we can select your desktop. Yeah, there we go. So guys, check out what Jade's been working on. So he's doing some form of blaster from Destiny 2.
Oh no, the grind.
Izanagi. Yeah, I have the quest for that right now.
So go over to the
Got it.
model. He's making pretty good progress there.
So good.
That's definitely looking close.
The grind. No, I think it's the one where you pick 15 sleeper notes. Oh no. Oh. No.
That's looking better.
137% players. Did you see that?
What does it say?
134.
Oh, Destiny's achievements on Steam are utterly broken. Have you ever broken?
Hey, it worked.
What did they expect? Not only did they make it free, but there's also DLC content, and they didn't expect the servers to die.
Destiny 2 is free.
Yeah, full game except for
No.
However,
How many people play the game?
Game that's like fighting
It's utter. Look at the percent for the achievement.
Wait, what am I looking at?
The percent. Oh, here's a better. The percent of the of players.
Wait, what?
The reach level 20 that any new light player gets as soon as they finish tutorial. That's probably off the entire network crashing because like 240,000 players started playing because they made it free.
Has it always been free, or did it transfer over?
It became free on Steam
October 1st, and we've been growing.
I got it for like.
I didn't even know it was free.
Yes, please. We need more people. We only have 3.
We have no buy even rate. We can crush it. We don't have the people to do it.
You know how many gigs it is, Jack?
And then
Many.
I'm maybe spending
Yeah.
but they just made this thing that was $60 free, along with this thing I spent $35 on.
That's rotten.
When I started playing the
So
Yeah, that stinks. All right, so what is it?
Oh,
It's awesome.
oh yeah, there's a state project that I have where me and a bunch of our students need to like design eco-friendly house.
Yeah.
So, this is what my mind came up with. It's a bit,
It's really beautiful. That's a great design.
basically, one of the things I want to know at first is that, you know how with all that global warming, the ice caps are melting, causing the ocean to go up more?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually one of the
So it can handle a bit of flooding. That's really cool. Hey guys, check out Charlie's house design here. So Charlie is working on an eco-friendly house design.
It's a school project.
That's really cool. It's actually flood resistant. Oh, you're saying that? Yeah. Sorry. Whoop, right over my head. Yep. You need less support material if you print it upside down. That's really cool. I like that a lot. Nice work. Had you been working on this before, or did you just draw all this here?
Only took me like, 20 minutes?
Wow, that's impressive. Nice work. Hey, Rich. Good, how are you? I gave Emilio a challenge earlier in the class, and he's been toiling away over there. I almost feel bad. What's that? Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah, we're having a good time. Although I misplaced my iced tea. There it is. How have you been? Good. Go check it out. Yes. I potentially have an answer.
So I'm
Nice.
working on a belt buckle.
Nice.
So I've got
The trigger needs to be lower.
right.
To make sure it goes down.
I don't know if it's bigger or not, but
Alright, guys.
so the pieces of like the pin that will go through.
Yeah.
And some material will come around. So what I'm thinking was one of the first things you showed us, right? Was I should be able to make like a pin that will go through the flange on each end.
Yeah. Yep. To print.
Is that gonna be?
It,
Oh no, because it won't be. Because there'll be nothing to hold the pin down. Print it separate and then.
Trying to think. So, like, sort of what I suggested for Emilio was coming up with a shape that has so little surface area contacting the part below it that it's not a problem. And so you could draw the pin, and because the pin is rounded on the bottom, there would be very little surface contact. As long as you make the pin smaller than the hole it's passing through. Okay. But that pin is going to be very delicate in the same way that this is very delicate. You know? So if you're actually... Yeah, sure. So yes, in that case, I think it's feasible. I think that could work. Yeah, you need to like space them out a little bit. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. I think that'll work. Yeah. You want to set it up? Cool. Did we use my computer to set up the print job last time? I can't remember. Okay. Yeah, let me grab my memory card reader. Did we put it on the memory card last time and then I sliced it on my computer? Okay. So why don't you save that out?
Right. It's volunteer. Right.
Your snake home soap dish.
Yeah, my snake on soap dish. It's a long way. I still got some work to do.
If you right-click on the top-level thing and do Save as STL, and then just save it out on the memory card.
Is there a way to sketch dimension for an angle?
Yes. What's the best way to explain it? What are you sketching that you want to set an angle
I
on?
just want to sketch the one that snap for some reason.
Show me.
It's like really close, but I don't think it's exact, and I kind of want it exact. I'm not sure if it's probably.
Like, so you use an angle to set one thing relative to another thing, right? So.
I think it already might be close enough, but I just want to make sure.
So how did you draw this arc? Did you do a 3-point arc?
No, I did a center point.
A center point arc, and so you set the center point here,
Yeah.
and then
And then
can you undo and show me? Yeah. Okay.
oh, I just pressed the X button.
So this is the angle you want to worry about, I think.
I just didn't see that.
Yep. There you go.
Somebody's got the hang of this.
They-
Jeff, thank you.
You're very welcome. I will see you.
Next,
It starts in 3 or 4 weeks. I'll send you the
I
flyer.
know I have the PDF you guys sent out.
Yeah, it's on that. It's somewhere. It's like just on the other side of Halloween or whatever.
Raspberry Pi.
It's going to be some of this and some electronics and a little bit of coding, all kind of mixed into one. Yeah.
But is that sort of more the Raspberry Pi?
Yeah.
Think I
Yeah. You gonna come?
Think about it.
Good. That'd be great. Get it?
I don't want to hover.
Bro, we should use cards like this for a robot for the.
You guys are just gonna.
Destiny 2.
You guys.
Oh, over there you mean? Or I don't know what Charlie's doing.
Exactly.
That's the exact same like express.
Okay, so let's stand this up,
We're gonna.
Is it called 80?
right? Because that's kind of the whole point.
We're just gonna.
Is it 80 fine?
Because I
Cool.
used
All right.
to build my
Let's export G code. Save it back on the.
Yeah, why doesn't we just use
card.
this space
robot.
for the robot?
Last year was big
Trash.
so
It was so under engineered.
Are you guys the whole robotics team?
Kind of. It was
Do you have a place to work at school?
No.
No.
Sort of.
Do you want to work here?
There's a dude at UNH. who
Okay.
There's a
volunteered.
dude.
Well, UNH probably has more tools than we do
If
here.
you have a CNC machine, that might be like hot.
There's a room in the
We
library.
have a
that's
CNC
like-
machine. Jeff will come visit us.
It's got a vibe in it.
See, one of the problems is like.
one thing I
robot
miss
was
about
both
working at Berwick is
over-engineered and under-engineered.
the tools.
Like, his code was so overkill.
Yeah, we had good
Way-
stuff.
It was like crushing the box. It was like milk cartons.
Do not stand up.
I was scared of it.
You want to do it?
It was like stand back. I'm about to flip the switch.
Yeah, stand back. It was so much force, like at a bad
Nope,
that
back up
that
one.
The quarter
That's right.
steel
You want print from
rod
SD.
Of a driving piston.
Battle bonds.
But the problem is it bent
There you go.
inside the
And
cylinder. I don't even know how it managed to do that. It like it got pushed in so hard it bent inside the cylinder.
Yep.
We
So that's going to take a while, but if you are you on the Discord or okay, so I'll post a picture.
and they
We'll see how you we'll see how we did because that was kind of like like he did this cool thing and I'm like that was cool, but so
try for cooler.
yeah. Well, you did a good job. You were a trooper. I like really threw you an underhand pitch there, so that was cool. So all right, good deal. All right, guys.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Exactly like, what do you did this for free, so it can't be like.
I have another job. I work for a software company.
Okay.
I do that like half, and then Michael does software development. He's my partner in this thing, and this is his office on the other side of the wall here.
Okay.
So his software development business sponsors sort of he pays for the roof, basically, and part like half time, the classes, all of that kind of stuff. Build this up and we try to offer it to students and teachers. So like we've got a handful of teachers here. So hopefully, they take some of what we teach and they bring it back to their schools and, the history and the timeline for that component. So if you go back up to the top level,
Aren't I? Oh, wait.
like,
on this?
yeah, click, yeah,
And this is everything.
yeah.
Oh.
Component, it's part of the overall design. So the organization of the timeline is a little awkward, but it's still in there. Yeah. Hi, sorry, I didn't see your hand up. What's up?
I wanted 3D print the thing I just designed, but
Yep. Yes. So what, we need to save the file though. Where is it saved?
It's saved. Same way I saved it.
Okay. So, oh, in that case, so both of the printers are actually running right now. Would it be okay with you if I started the print when I get here tomorrow? Is that okay?
Alright. So it's stored Fusion 360 as a default project. It's called School Project.
Okay. And conveniently, it's in the account that I logged you in as, so I know the password, so I can just go in and get it.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Cool. Are you on the Discord, or are you?
Sometimes.
Okay. Well, I can post a picture when it's done if you'd like.
Sounds good.
Okay. Cool. All right. I will do that.
Alright.
Excellent. Thank you. Tell everybody at home I said hi.
Yep. All right.
And I'll see you in a few weeks.
Yep.
Or on the Discord. Or whatever.
Also,
Yes. Or both. Yes.
So thank you for today.
You are very welcome. It's good to see you again.
You too.
Thank you. You're going to school? It's late.
I know. We're going on a hike tomorrow. Overnight hike.
Oh, that's cool.
So we're going to Carson Lodge. So I got a couple things to prepare. I'll see my soda dish.
I do want to see your soap dish. Let me just stop the stream though. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to end the stream. I'm just going to hop on and end the stream.
Well, in France, you are able to sell your Steam games now. Because it's against France's laws that say that digital things are like physical things.
Jeff, thanks a lot.
You're very welcome. It's good to see you both.
No.
Sure thing.
I'd rather go to a different house. And deal with that.
He's not been disabled on the computer yet.
No.
On your computer, they haven't been disabled?
Not this one right here. I heard sticky keys.
No, it's on my computer.